Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of how to make a turn-based RPG. What I will be doing first is fixing a bug we've been seeing. This may or may not fix it, but we're going to stop saying who our enemy is on this screen, and we are going to just say who our enemy is on this screen. So here, we declare who their enemy is, but when we are stuck in these brains, sometimes we're going to get confused as to who our enemy actually is. Enemy objects, that could be like projectiles of enemies sometimes. That could be a lot of different things. So we are just going to say that when they are in this location, when they're charging, that's when they declare who their enemy is. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we are going to go ahead and decide, we're gonna communicate to this battlefield center where it needs to go. Okay, so we're gonna say what its battlefield zone is, what its, I guess we'll call it battle zone, what battle zone it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go get this snow, and we are going to make it about yay big. Whoops. Maybe a little bigger. Okay, so we have snow, and we're going to turn on snap to grid. We're going to make some snow there, and we're going to make a desert here. Actually, we're going to make, we're just going to imitate this here. So we're going to say desert over here, and snow over here. I don't know why we have desert next to water. That's how we're going to do it. So this could be like completely different areas in the world. Like you could have the snow like way over there, the desert way over there, the grass way over there. Okay, you can do this however you want. But this is what we're going to do. We are going to duplicate this guy here. And all he does is add brain wilderness. We are going to say show your trigger zones. We're going to put his trigger zone on the snow. This one, we're going to do the same thing. Properties, brain, sensors, show trigger zone equals true. We're going to make his trigger zone right here, okay? The nice thing is, all three of these are using the code that's in there. But what's going to happen right now is our characters are going to be teleported to wherever, basically, wherever this player start position is, and our enemies are monsters are going to be created at whatever the start position is. So what we need to make sure we do is we create a logic cube in each zone. Okay. Logic cube. Okay, so we're going to make one here. We'll make sure they're all in about the center. Put one here, and we will put one here. We might run into some issues with monsters being created off the map. We'll see. Turn off snap to grid. And now this this battlefield center, we can kind of put it wherever we want for now. We're going to leave it right here. But we got to be careful. What we don't want to do is we don't want to say, we don't want our player to be created here before this is teleported to its necessary location. So what we want to make sure we do is the first thing that is this. The very first thing that happens when we're in trigger zone is this. We need to say when in trigger zone, we're going to say my zone equals, we're going to say battlefield center equals, oh, that's annoying. Battlefield center position, oh, why am I using this? Is equal to my zone position. Alright, does that make sense? So battlefield position equals my zone. So what we need to decide now is what is our zone. Well, once this guy's zone is that. This guy's zone is that. Got some upvotes. Sweet. And this guy's zone is that. Okay? So what's going to happen is this is going to move to whatever zone we are in. So let's go ahead and do this now. We're going to test the grass. Right now, the battlefield is actually in between all of those three. Right when I step on this, its position is going to move. See, now we're here. I don't like that we can move the camera, but we're going to restart. We got to do a hard restart. We're going to go here. Bam. Now we're here. Let's do another hard restart. And bam. We're here. Cool. So it worked. There is another thing that we want to do. We want to make sure that we're not charging until this guy's charging. So we're going to go to combat, and we are going to say we're not going to have that line charging equals true. So let's go ahead and test this now. We'll make sure that we're not charging. Okay, we're not charging. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, now what we want to do is, in order to test this properly, we have to actually make it so there's an end combat sequence. Or when combat is over, we get teleported back to our previous position. So, do you remember in the player's brain, was it in this brain? I think our wilderness one. In our wilderness brain, we had this, or was it in this guy? I think it was in this guy's brain. I think it was. And when it was in combat equals true, switch to page in combat. Okay, position equals player starting position. Okay, this one here. When in combat equals false, position, where is that thing? I gotta find where that is. Huh. I don't know if I ever declared it, so we might find it later. But what I need to do is I need to say, oh, that's going to go over here actually. When combat equals true, position pre-combat equals that. Now what I need to say is when combat equals false, we're going to switch to main. So we're going to say position equals pre-combat position. So that's going to move us back to our pre-combat position. And we'll switch to main page. We're going to come over here. All right, so when, let's see, the best way to do this, I think, is going to be when is it, maybe we'll do it in the battlefield center. When enemies, yeah, we'll do that. The battlefield center, I think. When enemies count is equal to 0, when enemies count is equal to 0, we're going to run this line of code. We are going to do everything opposite of what we did. we're gonna rewind everything basically. So the first thing we need to do is we need to deactivate all of the brains that were activated. And I believe that was done here. In our, okay, we have our combat activate. So we need to get all of these and we need to paste them here. When enemies count equal to 0. Trying to think. I don't want to mess this up. When enemies count equal to 0, Master Combat Brain is active equals false. We want to make all of those false. When enemies count is greater than or equal to 1. We are going to say, this will just be for safety. We can do this better later. Initiated. Okay, so we have this Boolean calls initiated. Okay, meaning we've already created allies. We've already created enemies, sorry. So, and initiated equals false. That might be redundant, but it's an extra layer, so we're making sure that we're not it's making sure we're not yeah, I think we're okay to do this. No, I don't think we need that. We're gonna try it like this. When our enemies count equals 0. Because when we create this, our enemy count shouldn't be 0. But let's see what happens here. Okay, we're going to go back into this brain. In combat equals true. In combat equals false. So we need to say for each of players it in combat equals true, false. Alright, so we're going to kill all the enemies. We're going to go ahead and test this now. We're going to kill all the enemies. And we'll see if it... Oh, we ran into some issues there. So I'm thinking what happened was this registered. We need to do this somewhere else. It did that right away. You see, it did this enemies count equals 0. What we'll do is we'll just add a little countdown timer on that. So we give time to create our monsters. Let's try it again. Cool. Okay, so it created monsters. Now we need to make sure that our count gets down to our monster count gets down to 0. This could take a while, so this might be a good time to go ahead and create a custom attack, custom damage stat. So what we're gonna say is attack my enemy with damage. We're just gonna call it strength right now. I don't need to capitalize that. Strength. We're gonna call that strength. And our player is going to have strength of 100. And our goblins are going to have strength of, or our monsters rather, are going to have strength of random number 5 to, or we'll say 1 to 5 as integer. Okay, and we know the speed thing is working, so we don't need to do that. So now when we attack, we are going to use this stat, strength. All right, so now our player will attack faster. Will attack stronger than our monsters will. Again, we gotta unlock that camera. Now I should be able to one-shot this goblin, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so it did it did send us back, but what it's not doing is it's not removing this this combat brain. Okay, it's not removing that combat brain. So what we're gonna say is when this happens, when combat equals true, it's gonna come here. We're going to say remove brain combat. Because he was strafing, he was doing his like trying to move towards the closest enemy thing, and that just wasn't working. So here we go, 3, 2, 1. We got to charge up. That's a slow monster. Boom. Okay, the monster is going to die, and we're back to where we need to be. Now, I will say we cannot enter combat again because something happened. This one, it's can enter combat. Our can enter combat needs to be put back to false. I mean, back to true. So you see here, it can enter combat equals true. Can enter combat equals false. We need to say can enter combat equals true. So we need to say that it now can enter combat. It's probably going to go like instantly back to combat. Yeah, it's going to go like right back to combat. So what we need to say is we need to reset the variable. Yeah, we need to reset the variable that says like whether or not you get into combat. That's a pretty fast monster there. All right, so that monster's dead. Yeah, it sent us right back. So that's good. I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to do. But let's go ahead and go in here, and we are actually going to say we'll leave it here for now. We're gonna let's see. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that, and we'll mess with it later. What we'll do is we'll put a timer on it, so like when you end combat, you can only go back into combat after so long. So anyway, here we have 3 different battle zones. We have an end combat sequence, so we get ported back out to the end of combat. And yeah, I guess next time what we'll do is we'll work on that timer, so you don't have to go right back into combat. We'll put like maybe a 2-second delay between combat at minimum. And we'll make a couple more functions and maybe get into working on some stats and HUD for our combat system.